The sound of the paper tearing wasn't loud, but in the silence of the first-class cabin, it sounded like a gunshot. Beatrice, the senior flight attendant, didn't just rip the ticket. She smirked as she let the confetti pieces rain down onto the girl's worn-out sneakers. "Now," Beatrice sneered, pointing a manicured finger at the economy curtain. "Get to the back where you belong, or get off my plane." She thought she was taking out the trash. She had no idea she had just declared war on the daughter of the man who signed her paychecks. By the time this flight lands, Beatrice won't just lose her job, she's going to lose everything. The queue at JFK's Terminal 4 was a serpentine beast of frustration, humidity, and impatience. But for the passengers of Apex International Airlines Flight 902 to London Heathrow, the chaos was a distant memory. Or at least it was supposed to be. Apex International prided itself on being the pinnacle of luxury aviation. Their slogan, "Ascend above the ordinary," was plastered in gold foil on every surface. But for Beatrice Vance, the chief purser and senior flight attendant on Flight 902, the slogan was more than marketing. It was a religious doctrine. Beatrice was 45, with hair pulled back so tightly it acted as a temporary facelift, and a uniform that was tailored within an inch of its life. She viewed the first-class cabin not as a service industry workspace, but as her personal fiefdom. She was the queen, and the passengers were her subjects, provided they were the right kind of subjects. The boarding process was nearly complete. The cabin smelled of expensive leather, bergamot sanitizer, and the faint, metallic scent of conditioned air. Beatrice stood by the main fuselage door, scanning every passenger with the cold precision of an MRI machine. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Henderson. Lovely to see you again," she purred to a man in a bespoke charcoal suit, flashing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Good to be back, Beatrice." The man nodded, tapping his Patek Philippe watch. "Hoping for a smooth one. I have a merger meeting the second we touch down." "I'll ensure the cabin is silent as a grave, sir," she promised. Then the atmosphere shifted. A young woman stepped through the airbridge door. She didn't look like the other first-class passengers. She didn't have the Louis Vuitton carry-on or the aura of someone who spent their weekends in the Hamptons. Maya Sterling was 22 years old. She wore an oversized charcoal grey hoodie with the logo of a generic university faded on the chest, loose-fitting black leggings, and battered Converse sneakers that had seen better years, let alone days. Her hair was pulled into a messy, voluminous bun, and she wore zero makeup. Over one shoulder hung a canvas backpack that looked like it had been dragged through a muddy festival. But it was her demeanor that Beatrice clocked instantly. Maya looked exhausted. Her eyes were puffy, red-rimmed, and she clutched her passport and boarding pass against her chest like a shield. She looked small, frightened, and, in Beatrice's estimation, completely out of place. Beatrice stepped sideways, effectively blocking the aisle leading to the first-class suites. Her smile vanished, replaced by a look of profound irritation, like she'd just stepped in gum. "Excuse me," Beatrice said, her voice dropping an octave, losing all its professional warmth. "Boarding for economy is through the second bridge, or you can cut through the galley to the right. This is first class." Maya blinked, pulled out of her daze. She looked up at Beatrice, confusion clouding her dark eyes. "Oh, I know. I'm in the right place." Beatrice let out a sharp, incredulous exhale through her nose. She looked Maya up and down, making a show of inspecting the sneakers, the leggings, and finally the canvas bag. "Miss, I don't think you understand. This cabin is for full fare paying passengers. The upgrade list was cleared 20 minutes ago, and I didn't see your name. Please move along. You're holding up Mr. van der Hoven behind you." Behind Maya, a tall, impatient man with slicked-back hair sighed loudly, checking his phone. I'm not an upgrade, Maya said, her voice soft, raspy from days of crying. She held out her boarding pass. I'm in seat 1A. Beatrice didn't take the pass. She just stared at it, then back at Maya. 1A was the most exclusive suite on the Boeing 777-300ER. It was the owner's suite. It was rarely booked, usually reserved for diplomats, A-list celebrities, or royalty. The idea that this disheveled girl in a hoodie was sitting in the sanctuary of luxury was physically offensive to Beatrice. "Let me see that," Beatrice snapped, snatching the card from Maya's hand with unnecessary force. She scanned the document. Maya Sterling, seat 1A, JFK to LHR. It looked authentic. The thermal printing was correct. The code was correct. But Beatrice's mind couldn't accept the data. Her bias rewrote the reality in front of her. Fraud, her mind whispered. System error. Scammer. Employee standby trying to pull a fast one. "Where did you get this?" Beatrice demanded, not returning the ticket. I printed it at the kiosk," Maya stammered. The aggression was making her heart race. She just wanted to sit down. She just wanted to close the suite door and mourn in peace. She was flying to London to identify her mother's body. Her mother, who had been estranged from her father for years, had passed away in a car accident in soothingly quiet Sussex. Maya wasn't thinking about luxury. She was thinking about survival. "The kiosk," Beatrice repeated flatly. "You expect me to believe that a girl dressed like you just walked up to a kiosk and printed a ticket worth $15,000. "Is there a problem?" Mr. van der Hoeven barked from behind. "I'd like to get to my seat before takeoff, Beatrice." "My apologies, Mr. van der Hoeven," Beatrice said, flashing a pained, apologetic smile at the man. "We have a bit of a security situation. Someone seems to be confused about their seating assignment." She turned her glare back to Maya. "Step aside. Stand in the galley. Now, I need to verify this before you take another step." Maya felt the heat rise in her cheeks. The other passengers were staring. A woman in 2F, sipping pre-flight champagne, lowered her sunglasses to watch the show with amusement. "I paid for the ticket," Maya lied. Well, partially. She hadn't paid. Her father's assistant had arranged it instantly when the news broke. But explaining her lineage was the last thing she wanted to do. She wanted anonymity. "Please, can I just sit down?" "Not until I say so," Beatrice hissed. She shoved Maya roughly toward the galley wall near the cockpit door. "Stand there. Don't touch anything." As Maya shrank against the cold metal of the galley wall, Beatrice ushered the remaining first-class passengers past her. Every single one of them looked at Maya with a mix of pity and suspicion. To them, she was an intruder, a glitch in their perfect, wealthy matrix. Beatrice picked up the interphone to call the gate agent, but then she paused. She looked at Maya, standing there with her head down, clutching her backpack straps. Beatrice felt a surge of power. She didn't need the gate agent. She had been flying for 20 years. She knew a scam when she saw one. She hung up the phone without dialing. The cabin door hissed shut. The heavy thud of the locking mechanism signaled that the outside world was gone. They were a sealed vessel now. Maya looked up hopefully. "Can I go to my seat now? The door is closed." Beatrice walked over slowly, the boarding pass still in her hand. She stood uncomfortably close to Maya, invading her personal space. The scent of Beatrice's overpowering floral perfume made Maya nauseous. "I've been working for Apex for 2 decades, Beatrice said, her voice low and venomous. "I know the type. You find a discarded boarding pass, or you use a fake app, hoping the crew is too busy to notice. You think because you're young and urban, that we'll be afraid to challenge you." Maya frowned. "Urban? What is that supposed to mean?" "It means," Beatrice smirked. "That people like you don't sit in 1A. People like you sit in 45E near the toilets, or better yet, on a Greyhound bus." "That is my ticket," Maya said, her voice trembling but gaining a hint of steel. The racism was thinly veiled, and it stung. "My name is on it. Check the manifest." "I don't need to check the manifest to know when I'm being played," Beatrice said. She looked at the ticket in her hand. "This is invalid. It's not. It is now." Beatrice locked eyes with Maya. With a slow, deliberate motion, she pinched the top of the boarding pass. "Rip," Maya gasped. The sound cut through the low hum of the engines powering up. Beatrice tore the stiff cardstock in half. Then she put the halves together and tore them again. "What are you doing?" Maya cried out, reaching for the pieces, but Beatrice pulled her hand back. "Disposing of trash," Beatrice said. She walked over to the galley trash compactor and dropped the confetti-sized pieces of the ticket into the bin. She dusted her hands off dramatically. "There. Now you have no ticket, which means you are essentially a stowaway." "You can't do that?" Maya's voice rose, cracking with emotion. "That's illegal. I have a right to my seat." "Lower your voice," Beatrice snapped, her face twisting into a mask of fury. "You are disturbing my elite passengers. Now, I am going to give you one chance before I call the captain and have the police waiting for you in London. You are going to walk back through that curtain, all the way to the back of economy. There are 3 empty middle seats in row 52. You will sit there, you will be silent, and you will not ask for so much as a glass of water. If you do that, I might not have you arrested for fraud upon landing." "I'm not going to economy," Maya stated, tears finally spilling over. "I'm sitting in 1A. That is my seat." "Suit yourself," Beatrice said. She grabbed the interphone and pressed the button for the flight deck. "Captain Anderson?" "Yes, this is Beatrice. We have a situation in the forward galley. A disruptive passenger. Possible fraud. She's refusing crew instructions." "Yes." "No, we can handle it until we reach cruising altitude. But I wanted it logged. She's aggressive." She hung up and turned to Maya with a triumphant grin. "It's on the record now. Aggressive passenger. You know what happens to aggressive passengers. They get blacklisted. No-fly lists. Federal charges." Just then, the curtain separating first class from the business cabin twitched. A man emerged. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was dressed in an old beige cardigan, slightly stained at the cuff, and corduroy pants that looked like they were from the 1990s. He had thick glasses and a head of messy grey hair. He was leaning heavily on a wooden cane. "Excuse me," the old man said, his voice wheezy and frail. "I couldn't help but overhear. Is everything all right? This young lady seems quite distressed." Beatrice whipped around, her annoyance flaring. This was the other problem on her flight. Seat 2A. Mr. Arthur Pennyworth. Or so the manifest said. He had booked last minute, paying cash at the counter, which was highly irregular. Beatrice had already pegged him as lottery trash, someone who came into money and didn't know how to behave. "Sir, please return to your seat," Beatrice commanded, using her teacher-scolding-a-child voice. "This is a crew matter involving a security threat." "She doesn't look like a threat," the old man said, shuffling closer. He looked at Maya with kind, watery eyes behind the thick lenses. "She looks like a girl who just wants to go home. Did you really just rip up her ticket?" "Sir!" Beatrice stepped toward him, using her height to intimidate the hunched figure. "I will not ask you again. Sit down, or you will be cited for interfering with a flight crew member. Do you want to spend your vacation in a holding cell?" The old man held his ground for a second, looking from Beatrice to Maya. He gave Maya a subtle, almost imperceptible nod. "I'll sit. But I'm watching. This isn't right." He shuffled back to seat 2A, leaving the curtain slightly open. Beatrice turned back to Maya, her face flushed with the adrenaline of the power trip. "See? Nobody is coming to save you. Now, move." She grabbed Maya by the strap of her backpack and shoved her physically toward the aisle leading to economy. Maya stumbled, catching herself on the galley counter. The humiliation was burning her skin. She looked at the empty Suite 1A, the plush leather seat, the fresh orchids in the vase, the privacy she so desperately needed to cry about her mother. Then she looked at the long, narrow aisle leading to the back of the plane. She took a deep breath. She wouldn't fight Beatrice physically. That's what Beatrice wanted. She wanted a reason to put zip ties on Maya's wrists. "Fine," Maya whispered. "I'll go back. But you are making a mistake. A massive mistake." Beatrice laughed, a cold, dry sound. "The only mistake was letting you on this plane, sweetie. Now walk." Maya began the long walk of shame. She passed through the business class cabin, where people averted their eyes. She passed through premium economy. Finally, she reached the back of the plane, the cattle class. It was packed. Babies were crying. The air was already stuffy. She found row 52. It was the very last row, right against the lavatories. The seats didn't recline. The smell of the chemical toilet was pungent. Seat 52E was a middle seat between a large man who was already asleep and snoring and a woman with a cat carrier on her lap. Maya squeezed into the small space. She pulled her knees to her chest, put her hood up to hide her face, and let the tears come. She didn't cry for the seat. She cried for the cruelty. She cried because her father, Marcus Sterling, the billionaire owner of the Apex Group, had told her, "Take the jet, Maya. I want you comfortable." And she had said, "No, Dad, I'll take the commercial flight. I don't want to be special today. I just want to be a person." "I just want to be a person," she thought bitterly. In the front of the plane, Beatrice was pouring champagne for Mr. van der Hoven. "Handled the riffraff, I see," he commented, swirling his glass. "We keep the standards high at Apex," Beatrice beamed. "It's my job to ensure the cabin remains pure." In seat 2A, the old man in the beige cardigan adjusted his glasses. He pulled a small, sleek smartphone from his pocket, far too modern for a man of his appearance. He opened a text message thread. The contact name was simply Pilot, Flight 902. He typed a message with surprising speed for his age. "Do not intervene yet. Let her dig the grave. I want to see how deep it goes. MS." He hit send, then looked out the window as the engines roared to life. The hunt was on. 3 hours into the flight, the Boeing 777 was cruising smoothly at 38,000 feet over the Atlantic. The cabin lights in first class had been dimmed to a soft, relaxing violet hue. In the galley, Beatrice was preparing the dinner service with the precision of a surgeon. She plated the lobster thermidor for Mr. van der Hoven, arranging the garnish with tweezers. She hummed to herself, feeling the satisfaction of a clean cabin. She had successfully purged the contaminant. "Sarah," Beatrice barked, not looking up from the lobster. A young flight attendant, no older than 24, hurried in from the business class section. Sarah was new, only 6 months on the job, and she was terrified of Beatrice. Beatrice was known in the company as the rookie killer. "Yes, Beatrice?" Sarah asked, smoothing her skirt. "I'm sending the manifest updates for the landing crew," Beatrice said, wiping her hands on a hot towel. "Regarding seat 52E, the girl. I've flagged her as non-compliant and potential security risk. When we serve the mid-flight snack, skip her." Sarah blinked, confused. "Skip her? But it's an 8-hour flight. She hasn't had water or anything since she boarded." Beatrice turned slowly, her eyes narrowing. She is a fraud, Sarah. She tried to steal a $15,000 seat. If we feed her, we validate her presence. We are not a soup kitchen. If she wants water, she can drink from the bathroom tap like the animal she is behaving like. Do I make myself clear? But Beatrice, Sarah hesitated, her conscience gnawing at her. She looked really upset. I walked past earlier, and she was crying. Maybe she just made a mistake. Compassion is for economy crew, Sarah. Here in First, we deal in standards, Beatrice snapped. If I see you hand her so much as a pretzel, I will write you up for insubordination. You're on probation, aren't you? Do you want to lose your wings over a street rat? Sarah swallowed hard. She needed this job. Her mother was sick, and the health insurance was vital. No, Beatrice, I understand. Good. Now take this Dom Perignon to Mr. van der Hoven and check on the old man in 2A. If he's asleep, don't wake him. If he's awake, give him the standard mineral water. Don't waste the good stuff on him. He wouldn't know the difference between vintage champagne and sparkling cider. Sarah took the tray and walked into the cabin. In seat 1A, Maya's rightful seat, Mr. van der Hoven was currently using the ottoman as a footrest for his muddy loafers. He snapped his fingers as Sarah approached. Finally, he grumbled, top me off, and bring the caviar. I'm starving. Right away, sir, Sarah said softly. Across the aisle in seat 2A, the old man, Marcus Sterling in disguise, watched the exchange. He had his seat reclined slightly. He had refused the noise-cancelling headphones. He wanted to hear everything. He watched Beatrice glide into the cabin a moment later. She fawned over van der Hoven, laughing loudly at his unfunny jokes, touching his shoulder with practiced intimacy. Then, her gaze slid to Marcus. Her smile vanished instantly. She walked over to him, her face blank. "Are you finished with that napkin, sir?" she asked, reaching for the linen on his tray table before he had even answered. "Actually, I was wondering if I could get a blanket," Marcus asked, his voice deliberately shaky. "It's quite cold near the window." Beatrice sighed, a sound of heavy inconvenience. "We have a limited supply of duvet covers, sir. They are prioritized for our gold status members. I can bring you a blanket from business class if I find the time, but we are in the middle of dinner service." "I see," Marcus said. "I paid full fare for this seat, just like him." He pointed a trembling finger at van der Hoven. "Mr. van der Hoven is a Diamond Medallion member," Beatrice said icily. "Loyalty has its privileges. I'll see what I can do about a blanket later." She walked away, leaving him cold. Marcus waited until she was gone. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the phone again. He typed another message to the cockpit. Log timestamp, 2140 UTC. Senior purser refused standard amenities to paying customer based on perceived status, prioritizing personal bias over protocol. Keep the cockpit door locked. I'm not done. Back in row 52, the reality was starkly different. Maya was wedged between the armrests. The man next to her had spilled half his soda on her sleeve while sleeping, and didn't apologize when he woke up. The air was thick and hot. Her throat was parched. She had been crying for 2 hours straight, and the dehydration was setting in. A headache pounded behind her eyes. She saw the cart coming down the aisle. It was the snack service. The smell of heated pretzels and coffee wafted through the air, making her stomach cramp with hunger. Sarah was pushing the cart, looking nervous. When she reached row 52, she looked at Maya with apologetic eyes. "Pretzels? Soda?" The man next to Maya barked. "Yes, sir," Sarah said, handing him a packet and a cup. She turned to Maya. Maya looked up, her lips dry. "Can I just have some water?" "Please." Sarah's hand hovered over the water bottle. She looked toward the front of the plane. She knew Beatrice was likely watching from the galley curtains. The Queen had eyes everywhere. I'm sorry, Sarah whispered, her voice breaking. I can't. The system, it has you flagged. I can't serve you. Maya stared at her, stunned. You can't give me water. I'm so sorry, Sarah mouthed. She quickly pushed the cart past, fleeing the guilt. Maya slumped back against the hard seat. It wasn't just the seat change, it was a systematic erasure of her dignity. She felt like a ghost. She closed her eyes and thought of her father. If you knew, Dad. If you knew what they were doing in your name. But she didn't text him. She didn't call him. She wanted to prove she could survive this. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering, and tried to sleep. 2 hours later, the cabin was dark. Most passengers were asleep. In first class, the silence was shattered by a loud, drunken roar. It's gone! I'm telling you, it's gone! Beatrice rushed out of the galley, a flashlight in hand. Mr. van der Hoeven was standing up, swaying slightly, ripping the cushions off his seat. Mr. van der Hoeven, please, keep your voice down, Beatrice soothed. What is the matter? My money clip, he shouted. Platinum, with $5,000 in cash and my black card. It was right here on the tray table when I went to the lavatory. Now it's gone. Beatrice's eyes went wide. Theft in first class was unheard of. It was a violation of the sanctuary. She scanned the area. It was clean. Are you sure you didn't drop it? I don't drop things, he spat. Someone took it. Beatrice's mind raced. The other passengers were asleep. The crew had been in the galley. There was only one variable, one anomaly. The girl, Beatrice whispered. What? Van der Hoeven asked. The girl, Beatrice said, her voice gaining conviction. The stowaway, the one in the hoodie. She walked right past your seat when I escorted her back. She must have swiped it then. That little tramp? Van der Hoeven raged. I knew she looked like trouble. Get her up here. No, Beatrice said, her face hardening into a mask of righteous fury. I will go to her, and I will get your property back, Mr. van der Hoeven. I promise you that. In seat 2A, Marcus Sterling was wide awake. He had seen everything. He knew van der Hoeven hadn't left his seat in hours. He also knew exactly where the money clip was. It had slid off the tray table when the plane hit a patch of turbulence an hour ago, and was currently wedged between the seat shell and the fuselage wall. But Marcus didn't say a word. He needed to see how far Beatrice would go. Beatrice marched through the plane like a storm front. She ripped open the curtains separating the classes, stomping through business, through premium, until she reached the back of economy. She found row 52. The lights were off. People were sleeping. Beatrice didn't care. She reached up and clicked on the overhead reading lights, blinding the passengers in the back row. Maya woke up with a start, shielding her eyes. What? What's happening? Beatrice loomed over her. Get up. What? Get up! Beatrice screamed, grabbing Maya's arm and yanking her upward. Thief! You thought you could get away with it? The entire back section of the plane woke up. People were grumbling. Phones were coming out to record. I didn't steal anything, Maya cried, terrified. I've been sleeping. Mr. van der Hoeven's platinum money clip is missing. You are the only person who passed his seat who doesn't belong there. You're the only one desperate enough, Beatrice accused loudly. Where is it? Is it in this filthy bag? Before Maya could answer, Beatrice grabbed Maya's canvas backpack. She unzipped it and turned it upside down. Crash. Maya's personal belongings spilled out into the dirty aisle. A hairbrush, a book, a bag of tampons, a phone charger, and a small framed photograph of her mother. The glass on the picture frame shattered as it hit the metal track of the seat. Maya gasped, dropping to her knees. No, Mom! She reached for the photo, cutting her finger on a shard of glass. Blood welled up on her fingertip. "Stop the drama," Beatrice sneered, kicking through the pile of belongings with her expensive heel. She kicked the underwear aside, looking for the silver clip. "Where is it? Did you hide it in your socks?" "I didn't take it," Maya sobbed, clutching the broken photo to her chest. "Please leave me alone. Look at what you did." Beatrice grabbed Maya's shoulder, shaking her. "Don't play the victim with me. I'm going to have the airport police strip search you the moment we land. You are going to jail." "Enough!" The voice came from the front of the cabin. It wasn't loud, but it carried an authority that cut through the noise. It was Sarah, the junior flight attendant. She was standing at the head of the economy aisle, holding a silver object. "I found it," Sarah said, her voice shaking but defiant. "I found the money clip. It wasn't stolen. It was wedged in Mr. Van der Hoeven's seat track. I saw it glinting when I went to clear his glass." Silence descended on the cabin. Beatrice froze. She looked at Sarah, then down at Maya, who was bleeding on the floor amidst her scattered life. The passengers in economy were murmuring now. "She's crazy," one man whispered about Beatrice. "That's harassment," another said. Beatrice straightened her jacket. She didn't look at Maya. She didn't apologize. She looked at Sarah. "Bring it to me." Sarah walked down the aisle and handed the clip to Beatrice. Beatrice looked at Maya, who was still on her knees, crying over the broken picture. "Consider yourself lucky," Beatrice said coldly. "If it wasn't this, it would have been something else. Clean up this mess. You're blocking the aisle." Beatrice turned on her heel and marched back toward first class, clutching the money clip like a trophy. Maya sat there, the blood from her finger smearing onto the glass of her mother's photo. A woman from across the aisle unbuckled her seatbelt. She was an older woman with kind eyes. She knelt down next to Maya. "Here, honey," the woman whispered, handing Maya a tissue. "Let me help you." Together they gathered Maya's things. Up in first class, Beatrice returned the clip to Van der Hoeven. "Found it," she lied smoothly. She had dropped it in the aisle when she realized I was coming for her. We recovered it. "Good work, Beatrice," Van der Hoeven grunted. "Excellent security." In seat 2A, Marcus Sterling was gripping the armrest so hard his knuckles were white. He was no longer typing on his phone. He was staring at the reflection of Beatrice in the window. He wasn't just going to fire her. He was going to destroy her world. But the flight wasn't over yet. The final test was coming, 2 hours from London. The sun was beginning to rise, painting the horizon in hues of purple and orange. The cabin was waking up. Beatrice was exhausted, but energized by her victory. She felt invincible. She had protected the sanctity of first class. Then, a groan came from seat 2A. Marcus Sterling let out a ragged, wet cough. He slumped forward in his seat, clutching his left arm. He knocked his water glass over, shattering it on the floor. "Help!" he wheezed. "My chest!" Beatrice was in the galley, chatting with the pilot on the interphone. She heard the noise and poked her head out. She saw the old man in 2A slumped over. She rolled her eyes. "Great," she thought. "The cheap seat is dying." She walked over, not running, but walking, at a brisk, annoyed pace. Sir, are you okay?" she asked, her voice devoid of genuine concern. "Chest pain," Marcus gasped, playing the part perfectly. "Can't breathe." Beatrice looked at Van der Hoeven, who was awake and watching. "It's always something, isn't it?" she muttered to him. She turned back to Marcus. "Sir, do you have medication? Did you take something?" "Neat." "Doctor," Marcus whispered. Beatrice stood up. "I'll see if there's a doctor on board." She grabbed the PA microphone, but instead of the urgent, panicked call for a doctor usually reserved for these moments, she spoke in a bored, monotone voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, if there is a medical professional on board, please ring your call bell. We have a passenger feeling unwell." She didn't run for the defibrillator. She didn't grab the oxygen tank immediately. She went back to the galley to move the breakfast cart out of the way first. In the back of the plane, Maya heard the announcement. She didn't hesitate. She wasn't a doctor yet, but she was a third-year nursing student. That was why she had the university hoodie. She had been studying for finals when she got the call about her mum. She unbuckled her belt and ran. She sprinted up the aisle, ignoring the glares of waking passengers. She burst through the curtain into business, then first. She saw the old man slumped in seat 2A. He looked grey. "I'm a nursing student," Maya shouted. "Let me help!" She rushed toward seat 2A. Beatrice stepped in front of her, blocking the path with her body. "You again?" Beatrice hissed. "Get back to your seat. I asked for a doctor, not a student, and certainly not you." "He looks like he's having an MI," Maya yelled, trying to push past. "Look at him. He needs oxygen, now." "Don't touch him." Beatrice shoved Maya back. "You are not authorized to be in this cabin. You are a security risk. I will not have you robbing a dying man." "Are you insane?" Maya screamed. "He's dying! Move!" "Security!" Beatrice yelled, looking for the other flight attendants. "Restrain her!" "I can't breathe." Marcus groaned loudly, letting his head loll back. Maya didn't wait. She ducked under Beatrice's arm. She wasn't fighting for a seat anymore. She was fighting for a life. She reached Marcus and immediately checked his pulse. It was thready. Marcus was good at controlling his breathing. "Sir, can you hear me?" Maya asked, her voice gentle and professional, a stark contrast to the way she had been treated. She grabbed his wrist. "I'm going to help you." She looked up at Beatrice. "Get the oxygen, now, and the AED. Do your job." Beatrice stood frozen. For the first time, she saw something in Maya's eyes that terrified her. It wasn't fear. It was command. It was the same look Marcus Sterling had when he addressed the board of directors. Beatrice hesitated. "Do it!" Maya roared. Beatrice scrambled. She grabbed the oxygen bottle from the overhead bin. Maya placed the mask over Marcus's face. "Breathe, sir. Nice and slow. That's it." She held his hand. She rubbed his back. She spoke to him soothingly, ignoring the blood on her own finger from the picture frame incident. She forgot about the torn ticket. She forgot about the humiliation. She just saw a human being in pain. Marcus looked up at her through the plastic mask. He saw the kindness in her face. He saw the resilience. He saw his daughter. Not the little girl he remembered, but a woman who was stronger than he ever gave her credit for. He took a deep breath of the oxygen. He squeezed her hand. "Thank you," he whispered. "Save your strength," Maya said softly. "We're almost there." Beatrice stood over them, holding the AED but not using it. She looked at the scene, the street rat saving the nobody. It disgusted her. "The pilot is preparing for an emergency descent," Beatrice said stiffly. "You need to return to your seat for landing." "I'm not leaving him," Maya said, not looking up. "I need to monitor his vitals until paramedics take over." "It is against FAA regulations for an economy passenger to be in first class during landing," Beatrice recited robotically. "I don't care about your regulations," Maya snapped. "I care about his heart. Go sit down, Beatrice. I've got this." Beatrice opened her mouth to argue, but she looked at Mr. van der Hoven. Even he looked uncomfortable now. He was looking at Maya with a strange expression. Respect? Beatrice clamped her mouth shut. She strapped herself into the jump seat, facing them. She glared at Maya the entire way down. The plane began its descent into Heathrow. The wheels locked into place. Beatrice closed her eyes and prepared her report. She would frame it perfectly. Disruptive passenger interfered with medical emergency. She would have Maya arrested on the tarmac. She had no idea that the man in seat 2A was already writing the final chapter of her career. The landing was rough. The Boeing 177 slammed onto the tarmac at Heathrow with a violence that made the overhead bins rattle. Beatrice sat in her jump seat, staring daggers at Maya, who was still kneeling on the floor of the first-class cabin, holding the hand of the dying man in seat 2A. Maya braced herself against the bulkhead as the reverse thrusters roared, slowing the massive beast of a plane. She didn't care about the landing. She kept her eyes on the heart rate monitor she had improvised, using the old man's smartwatch. His pulse was stabilizing, but he still looked frail. His eyes closed, his breathing shallow. "We're down," Maya whispered to him, squeezing his hand. "Paramedics will be here in 2 minutes. You made it." The man in seat 2A opened one eye. It was a strange moment, a flash of lucid, sharp intelligence that didn't match his senile act. "You stayed," he rasped, "even when she threatened you." "I don't leave patients," Maya said simply. The plane taxied to the gate. The ding of the seatbelt sign turning off sounded like a starting pistol for Beatrice. Beatrice unbuckled immediately. She grabbed the interphone. "All passengers, please remain seated. We have authorities boarding the aircraft to deal with a security incident." "Do not stand up." She looked at Maya with a smile that was pure, distilled malice. "Game over, sweetie." The forward door opened. The cool, damp English air rushed in, mixing with the stale cabin air. But it wasn't paramedics who entered first. It was the police. 2 officers from the Metropolitan Police, clad in high-visibility jackets, marched onto the plane. Behind them was a man in a sharp black suit, the Apex International Station manager for Heathrow. Beatrice stepped forward, smoothing her skirt. She pointed a manicured finger directly at Maya. "Officers, thank you for coming quickly," Beatrice announced, her voice projecting so the entire first-class cabin could hear. "That woman there, the one on the floor, she is a stowaway from economy. She has been aggressive. She attempted to steal from a diamond medallion passenger, and she forcibly entered the flight deck area during a medical emergency, interfering with crew duties. I want her removed and charged immediately." The officers looked at Maya. She looked small, disheveled, her hoodie stained with sweat and a smear of blood from her finger. She was still kneeling next to the old man. "Miss, stand up," the first officer commanded, his hand resting on his belt. "He needs a medic," Maya pleaded, gesturing to the old man. "I'm monitoring him. He had chest pains." "The paramedics are right behind us," the officer said sternly. "Stand up and step away from the passenger, now." Maya slowly stood up. Her legs were trembling. She felt the weight of the injustice crashing down on her. "I didn't do what she said. I have a ticket. She tore it up. We'll sort that out at the station," the officer said. He pulled a pair of handcuffs from his belt. "Turn around." "Handcuffs?" Maya gasped. "Is that necessary? I'm not dangerous." "Procedure for air rage incidents," the officer said flatly. "Turn around." Beatrice crossed her arms, watching with deep satisfaction. This was her moment. She had cleansed the cabin. She had maintained order. Mr. van der Hoeven gave her a nod of approval from seat 1A. Maya turned around, tears streaming down her face again. She felt the cold metal of the cuffs click onto her wrists. The sound was distinct. Click, click. "Take her away," Beatrice said dismissively. "And make sure she's banned from Apex for life." The officers began to lead Maya toward the door. "Wait!" The voice boomed through the cabin. It wasn't wheezy. It wasn't frail. It was a baritone command that shook the walls. It came from seat 2A. Beatrice froze. She turned around. The old man was standing up. He wasn't using his cane. He wasn't hunched over. He stood to his full height of 6'2". He reached up and ripped the oxygen mask off his face, throwing it onto the floor. Then he reached for his face. He peeled off the thick, grey eyebrows. He pulled off the wig of messy grey hair, revealing a head of silver fox hair, perfectly trimmed. He took off the thick glasses and threw them onto the seat. Beatrice's mouth dropped open. Her breath hitched in her throat. She knew that face. Every employee at Apex International knew that face. It was on the orientation video. It was in the annual report. It was painted on the tail of the company's private jet. It was Marcus Sterling, the CEO and founder of Apex International, the man who owned the very plane they were standing on. Mr. Sterling? Beatrice stammered, her face draining of all color. She looked like she was seeing a ghost. Marcus ignored her. He looked at the police officers. "Officer," Marcus said, his voice deadly calm. "If you do not unhand that young woman in the next 3 seconds, I will have your badges and your pension funds tied up in litigation for the next century." The officers froze. The station manager in the black suit rushed forward, looking terrified. "Mr. Sterling, sir, we didn't know you were on board. The manifest said—" "The manifest said Arthur Pennyworth," Marcus interrupted, his eyes blazing. "I fly incognito when I want to see how my company really operates. And today, I saw enough to make me want to burn this entire crew roster to the ground." He walked over to Maya. The officers, realizing who he was, quickly unlocked the handcuffs. Maya rubbed her wrists, staring at him. She was in shock. She hadn't seen her father in 10 years since the divorce. He looked older, tired, but the eyes were the same. "Dad," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The word hung in the air like a thunderclap. Beatrice let out a small, strangled squeak. "Dad?" Marcus looked at Maya. His hard expression softened instantly. He ignored the audience. He pulled his daughter into a crushing hug. "I'm so sorry, Maya," he choked out, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry. I wanted to protect you. I wanted to see. I didn't know it would be this bad." "You were the old man," Maya cried into his chest. You watched her do that to me." "I had to know," Marcus said, pulling back and looking her in the eyes. "I had to know who they were when I wasn't watching. And now I know." He turned slowly to face Beatrice. Beatrice was trembling violently. She backed up against the galley wall. "Mr. Sterling, please. I didn't know. I was just following protocol." She looked. "The ticket was—" "Silence," Marcus said. He didn't shout. He didn't have to. The word was absolute. He walked toward Beatrice until he was inches from her face. "You ripped up a ticket," Marcus said quietly. "A ticket that I issued. You told my daughter she belonged in the trash. You denied her water. You accused her of theft without evidence. And when I, a paying passenger, faked a heart attack, you prioritized a breakfast cart over my life. Sir, I thought—" Beatrice started to sob. "I thought she was a scammer. She didn't look like us." "Like us?" Marcus laughed, a cold, terrifying sound. "Beatrice, you are a servant in the sky. She is the heir to this entire empire. The only reason she was in that hoodie is because she is flying to bury her mother. My wife." The color left Beatrice's face completely. She had tormented a grieving girl. "And you," Marcus turned to Mr. van der Hoven in seat 1A. "You sat there and let it happen? You laughed? You called her a tramp?" Van der Hoven swallowed hard. "Now see here, Sterling, I'm a Diamond member." "Not anymore," Marcus said. He snapped his fingers at the station manager. Revoke his status. Ban him. Lifetime ban. Refund his ticket and get him off my plane. I don't want his money." "Yes, sir," the manager said, typing furiously on his tablet. Marcus turned back to Beatrice. "Give me your badge." "Sir, please," Beatrice begged, tears ruining her perfect makeup. "I've given 20 years to this company. I have a pension. I have a mortgage." "Give me your badge." With shaking hands, Beatrice unpinned the gold wings from her uniform. She handed them to Marcus. He looked at them, then closed his fist around them. "You're not just fired, Beatrice," Marcus said. "I am suing you for breach of contract, endangerment of a passenger, and harassment. You will not receive a severance. You will not receive a reference. You will leave this aircraft, and you will walk home, because you are certainly not flying Apex ever again." "Get her off my plane," Marcus commanded the police officers. "Now." The officers, eager to make up for their mistake, grabbed Beatrice. The irony was palpable. The handcuffs that were meant for Maya were clicked onto Beatrice's wrists. "No, no, you can't do this!" Beatrice screamed as she was dragged down the aisle, past the economy passengers who were now cheering and clapping. "I am the chief purser. I am the queen of the cabin." "You're nothing," a passenger from row 52 shouted. As Beatrice was hauled out of the aircraft, wailing, Marcus turned back to the cabin. He looked at Sarah, the young flight attendant who had found the money clip. She was cowering in the corner. "You," Marcus said. Sarah flinched. "I'm sorry, sir. I tried." "I saw," Marcus said gently. "You tried to give her water. You found the clip. You stood up for the truth when it was hard." He looked at the station manager. "Promote her. She's the new chief purser for the London route. Double her salary." Sarah burst into tears. "Thank you, sir. Thank you." Marcus put his arm around Maya. "Come on, kiddo. Let's go. I have a car waiting. We have a funeral to attend, and we are going to do it properly." The funeral for Maya's mother was beautiful. It was held in a small, ancient church in Sussex, surrounded by rolling green hills. It rained, of course. It was England. But Maya didn't mind. She stood by the graveside, holding a black umbrella. Her father stood next to her. They hadn't spoken much in the car. There was too much to say, too many years to bridge. But standing there, watching the casket descend, Marcus reached out and took her hand. "I should have been there," Marcus said softly. "For her. For you. I let the business become the only thing that mattered. I let the apex standard become about luxury, not humanity." "You were there today," Maya said, squeezing his hand. "That counts." "I'm changing things," Marcus said. "I saw the culture I created. Beatrice was a monster, but I built the dungeon she lived in. I created a system where status meant more than kindness." Maya looked at him. "So, what happens now?" "Beatrice is awaiting trial," Marcus said grimly. "The video from the cabin, oh yes, the new jets have cameras, went viral. She's become the face of corporate cruelty. She'll never work in customer service again. She lost her house, I hear. Karma isn't subtle. And the airline? I'm rebranding," Marcus said. He pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. It was a mock-up of a new ad campaign. It showed a picture of Maya, not the glammed-up version, but a candid shot taken from the security footage, with her permission. She was in her hoodie, holding the oxygen mask to the old man's, face. The tagline read, "Apex, where character is the only status that matters." "I'm establishing a scholarship in your mum's name," Marcus continued, "for nursing students. And I want you to run the charitable arm of the foundation, if you want to. Finish your degree, and then come work with me. Not for me. With me. Help me fix this." Maya looked at the headstone, then at her father. She thought about the torn ticket. She thought about the cold floor of the galley. But then she thought about Sarah, the young flight attendant who had been promoted. She thought about the passengers who cheered. She realized that the ticket Beatrice ripped up was just paper. Her real ticket, her identity, her strength, her compassion, couldn't be torn. "Okay," Maya said, resting her head on her father's shoulder. "But I'm flying economy on the way back." Marcus laughed, a genuine, warm sound that broke through the gloom of the funeral. "Absolutely not. But we can wear hoodies." 6 months later, Beatrice Vance sat in a small, dingy apartment in East London. The heating was off because she couldn't pay the bill. She was scrolling through her phone, looking for job listings. Dishwasher needed. Night shift janitor. A notification popped up. It was a news alert. Apex International posts record profits after Compassion Campaign goes global. CEO Marcus Sterling and daughter Maya Sterling accept Humanitarian of the Year award. Beatrice stared at the screen. She looked at the picture of Maya, glowing and happy, standing next to her father. Beatrice tapped the screen, trying to close the article, but her finger slipped. She accidentally liked the post. She threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and cracked. She stared at the spiderweb fracture on the screen. It looked just like the rip in a boarding pass. She pulled her thin blanket tighter around her shoulders, shivering in the cold, finally understanding what it felt like to be in the back of the plane, with no one coming to bring a blanket. Wow. Talk about immediate, satisfying karma. Beatrice thought she was the queen of the sky, but she forgot the golden rule. Treat everyone with respect, because you never know who you're talking to. She didn't just lose her job. She lost her entire life because of her own arrogance. It's a powerful reminder that true class isn't about the price of your ticket, but the content of your character. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want more stories about entitled people getting exactly what they deserve, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. I'll see you in the next flight.